please.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Truth and Rhythm. Brought to you by funkandstuff.net, this is the interview show that gets deep in the pocket with contemporary music's foremost masters of the groove. I am your host, Scott Dr. GX Goldfine, musicologist, creative arts journalist, and multimedia pro. Whether you're watching the video version of this show or the audio-only podcast version, I thank you so much for your continued interest and support in this show. If you enjoy this programming, there are several ways to help support Truth and Rhythm, as well as contribute to further enhancements and expansion, plus get some sweet perks and rewards in the process. First, subscribe to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube, which is where Truth and Rhythm lives, and be an advocate by spreading the word among fellow funk, jazz, and R&B music lovers. Second, join Truth and Rhythm's new membership program through Patreon, which features 3 tiers for truth believers, truth seekers, and truth crusaders. You can also submit a direct donation to the cause anytime at funkandstuff.net. At that site, which is loaded with awesome content, you can also purchase the book Everything's on the One, The First Guide of Funk. Shop for official Truth and Rhythm and Funk and Stuff merchandise, and use the Amazon links for all of your online purchases, which allocates a percentage to this show. Sponsorship opportunities are available as well. Contact me directly at scottg@funkandstuff.net. For those of you who go the extra step in supporting the show, you have my heartfelt gratitude for allowing us to continue to shine the light on those special artists whose quest is to find truth in rhythm. Hey, before we get started with today's show, I just want to draw your attention to new merchandise. Funk and Stuff and Truth and Rhythm designs are in, and they look pretty darn cool. So show your support, help support the program, and show off some stylish merchandise and apparel. Only at the Funk and Stuff store. I'm delighted to welcome to the Truth and Rhythm Mothership singer and composer Sueann Carwell. Since debuting as a teenager in 1981 after signing with Warner Brothers Records, she has released 4 albums under her own name and provided vocals for a cavalcade of other artists. They include the Brecker Brothers, George Duke, Brown Mark, Bobby Brown, Celine Dion, Freddie Jackson, Shanice, Slapback, Aaron Hall, Ricky Martin, George Benson, Ralph Tresvant, Rod Stewart, Sheena Easton, Jeff Lorber, Whitney Houston, Nancy Wilson, Lionel Richie, Britney Spears, Cher, and Christine Aguilera. In keeping with her Minneapolis roots, she brushed with being a Prince protégé and wound up collaborating extensively with Jesse Johnson. Wow, impressive. Sueann, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Wow, yeah, you got all that information, huh?
I told you I was going to do my homework on you.
That's awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure. Welcome to the show. And where are you coming to us from today?
I am coming from beautiful Las Vegas today. It's kind of chilly, but it's getting warm. It's warming up. So, yeah, it's a beautiful day today here, though.
How long have you been out that way?
I've been here, I think, I want to say 10 years now. 10, 11 years. Yeah, going on 11. Yes.
You got tired of the snow, huh?
Well, I actually left Minnesota a long time ago. So I lived where you left in Los Angeles for like 30 years.
Oh.
Long time, yeah. So.
Okay. Great. Well, I'm so glad you could put the time aside to do this. I've been really looking forward to going through your impressive history with you. And, I want to turn the memory clocks way back and find out how you first got into singing and what drew you to music.
I first, it started at a very young age. My father was a drummer musician, and my mother was a dancer. So I came from a showbiz family, kind of anyway. I was born in Chicago. We left from Chicago and came to Minneapolis, Minnesota as a young child. I was actually looking at Jelly Bean, the interview you did with him, and wow, a lot of things he was saying was so true about Minnesota when we grew up. We didn't have a lot of black music there. And so I grew up listening to Chicago and Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Anne Murray, Tom Jones. And so I was impressed, I think, with Chicago, the Transit album. As a young girl, I think I had to be around 8, 9, something like that. I was impressed and intrigued with the horn section, and I've always been intrigued with the rhythm, the music. And so I would sit in my bedroom and make up these songs with melodies going, with like Chicago and other artists, other things that were on the radio. And I just never thought that I was going to become a singer because I really wanted to be this model. And so it wasn't until later on, I think I had to be about 12 years old, and I had to be probably about 14 years old when my sister wanted to introduce me to a drummer in this band in Minnesota, and I thought I was going to meet the boy. However, I was set up to audition for the band. And I was so mad at her because I was shy and I didn't, but I would be singing around the house. And so actually the singer that was the lead singer in this band quit the band. And so they asked me, could I sing? And I said, no, not really. My sister said, yes, you can. So long story short, I sung Sweet Thing, because her voice attracted me when I first heard her. And I said, I want to be like Chaka Khan, And then I was in the band, in this 9-10-piece band that we never made no money. We rehearsed more than we played. We were over North Minneapolis, like probably about 2 blocks from Andre and where Prince lived. And so that's kind of how it just kind of started, was with this band, and we would be rehearsing, and then I was I was kind of playing. I left that band, quit that band, and started kind of playing around town, sitting in, doing these gong shows over north. And it wasn't until, and it was this one club called the Elks. I don't know if you know, it was like the elite, like the pimps and the prostitutes and the hustlers and gangsters would come in there, and I was so intrigued with the look of the women that would come in there, and it was like you had to have this $5 cover charge a year. You had to be a part of the whole, their what do you call that?
Membership?
Yeah, exactly. You had to be this membership, and back then it was like $5 a year for the membership. And so a lot of the musicians that you've probably heard or interviewed or know about, I knew all their mothers and fathers would come in there. Andre's mother would come to this club, and Prince's mother would come with her twin sister. They would come to this club, and I'd be down there singing in this gong show. And I would set myself up to win the money I think it was like $50. And I would scope the crowd out by the end of the night and be like, okay, they're drunk, so, and they're older, so I'll do some blues. So I would win the gong show like every week. So finally, the band got so tired of me winning because nobody else could win. They just put me as the host of the band. So I was the host of this gong show. And it wasn't until Simone came down to the Elks one night he had heard about me and came down to check me out. And I was in there singing Denise Williams, and he approached me on a break and said, wow, you really can sing, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, thank you. And, and he says, I want to bring a friend down. I want you to meet him. He's famous. And of course, I was just like, oh, okay. I was like, okay, somebody over north is famous. Okay. So the next night or the next week I played, and it was about the third set, because we used to do these long sets from like 9 to 1, grueling sets, and it's always when you get into it, on your set, it's like it's so hard to take that break and then come back on. You're trying to dredge up this whole thing again, and in walks in Andre. And behind him, I just see kind of a fro. And and I was in there singing, and I seen Andre, and I seen this guy with the fro, and I looked, and then he kind of crossed over, and I was like, oh, wow, he is gorgeous. And I didn't know who he was. And I went on, I probably tried to sing the greatest song I've ever sung that had a lot of range. And I think it was Denise Williams' Free. And after that, yeah, on my break, he brings Prince up to the stage. Yeah, I want you to meet my friend. This is Prince. Prince, this is Sueann. And I was saying to myself, Prince? What an ego. I just remember saying, what an ego this guy has to call him to Prince, So he said, hi, how are you? And we kind of made a little contact of talking a little bit. And then he pretty much said, hey, I'd like to record you. And I was like, okay, all right. And I haven't never done a recording, so I really didn't understand what that meant yet. So the next day, he came to my house and picked me up. And I had to be, I think I was like, I probably was about maybe 15, 16 by then. And we went and started doing this recording. And it was some really cool songs. One was a song called Wouldn't You Love to Love Me? And another one was called Since We've Been Together. And me, him, and Andre, he had this house on France, and no furniture, I remember, and just sitting on the floor on some like cool pillows. And we did the song like on an 8-track, like a little, like the machine, like that with the reel with the 8-track thing. And he brought it, told his manager, hey, I'm interested in this girl. She's really a great singer. I want to name her Susie Stone. And I was like, Susie Stone? I don't know. I got a name already around here. People know me as Sueann. I don't know how to switch like that and be Susie Stone. So I was not with the Susie Stone thing. That was like the first for me. I was like, I don't want to be called Susie Stone. Because later on, I'd have to switch probably back to my name. I don't know, but I don't want to do that. He went to his manager, and his manager said, "Oh, great, cool." We put a package together. We actually then went to Sound 80 in Minneapolis and recorded with Bobby Z's brother, David Rifkin, and had this amazing vocal, and it was big and it was beautiful. I just remember just looking at these speakers and this whole council and this clean, beautiful studio. And I was just like, I really right then thought I arrived. I was like, oh, I've arrived. I'm big now. Not knowing what was coming next. So I'm in the studio, I'm recording. I hit this run, this ad lib that is so gangster, but I couldn't remember the run after the music stopped. And Prince, because he asked me, can you do that run again? And I was like, what run? He said, the run you just did. Even though David recorded the run and kept it, he said, the run that you just did. And I was like, I don't remember the run. I've always been this kind of vocalist that you have to get me at the tip of when I come in, because I might give you something that you really might like. You know what I mean? And so thank God that they were smart enough to capture, everything, entails a song. So he got really angry because I couldn't remember the run. And I kept thinking about the run. He was trying to punish me. He had me sit in outside the studio for 2 hours trying to remember the run. And I kind of was getting the run a little bit, but I couldn't figure out. And he already had the run. He just wanted to be mean. And he got angry, and he kind of yelled at me and was like, I'm taking you home. And I was like, okay, dude. I was like, I don't know what you're getting so heavy about. It's just a run. But I guess to him, this run was just everything. So I felt really like he won't call me again. I told my sister, Prince told me to go home and took me home. And he didn't call me for about 2 weeks. And I was just like, okay, well, I guess I'll go back to the Elks and sing, or the Nakarima or one of these clubs. And so I didn't think no more of it. And then he called one day and came and got me. And we went back recording. And I remembered that run. I spent some time at home working on the run. And when I came in, I popped that run so amazingly sweet that he fell out on the council and was just laughing, because he just was like, oh my God, so yeah. So that's part of kind of how it kind of started.
Wow,
I don't know if it kept going.
That's a great story. What a great start, Sueann. Thank you. So at that point, when Prince first came into that club, was his first album out yet?
It was out.
But you were not aware of it, or were you? Or
I wasn't aware of it yet. My sisters and them were. They knew. My brother TC knew who it was, but I didn't really know him. And plus they weren't really playing that song yet. They weren't playing Soft and Wet a lot yet. It wasn't in any heavy rotation, and but when I seen the album cover, he showed me the album cover and showed me some pictures of the shoot, that's when I started to listen to the record.
And had you heard of his group Grand Central, or were you too young? Or
I didn't really hear about Grand Central. I knew Andre, and I really knew Sonny. Sonny wasn't in that group. I knew William Dowdy, who was Hollywood. I knew Terry Jackson. I really didn't know Morris yet. But no, I didn't, because I wasn't that far in the bands heavily yet. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I was young, so I couldn't get in everywhere. So
when you decide not to become Susie Stone, Were there other singers at the time? Were you hoping that maybe you would be like a Denise Williams type or a Shaka Khan type, or what were your aspirations?
Well, after, I wanted to tap in on this, that after we ended up finishing the demo, Owen Husney took it to Warner Brothers and took it to a friend of theirs that signed Prince, Russ Thyrett, rest in peace. He just passed away. And Arnold Larkin, I think it was Arnold Larkin and Mawson and all of them. They were like, well, they told Prince, she sounds just like you. And I don't really know what kind of transpired after that. Only that when he came and got me one day, he told me what happened. He says, however, I want you to be in my band. I said, okay. I didn't see a band yet. It was just me, him, and Andre in his house. He says, yeah, I want you to be in my band. We're going to go out on tour. I was like, okay. So he said, but I'm going to have my friend William Dowdy teach you congas and percussion, and I guess that's his longtime friend from Grand Central. And so I already kind of knew how to play percussions because my father was a drummer. So I played drums at a young age. I was already playing drums, and my father was teaching me drums, and so I knew how to play drums. So I just needed to learn like paradiddles and flams, and so he was teaching me all kinds of conga percussion accents and breaks and things like that for the song. And I think the song was, you can live your own life and I'll live mine. It was kind of in that, I think that song, because it had a percussion break or something in there on the 12. I don't remember, but I ended up, like, I went to a rehearsal and it was me, him, Andre, Bobby Z, and Matt Fink. Used to be in his basement, and we'd be down there rehearsing, and I'd have these congas, and I'd be playing a little bit, and I'd be still learning how to play. And it just was uncomfortable for me. I didn't know what to expect, so I bailed. I was like, I want to do my own thing. I don't want to be in this band. Don't look like it's going nowhere. I was like, I don't believe in this dude. Everybody's looking crazy, like they want to be these white rockers down here. And I was like, nah, you're not. But, I just didn't feel the energy was just, the vibe was. And then I left and I didn't call him no more. He was looking for me. He had Andre out looking for me, and I was like, I'm good. I don't want to, So, I ended up getting a deal though through him and Owen Husney, solo deal. Yeah, but other singers, no. There was really no other singers there except, I want to say, I liked Cynthia Johnson. I was in Flight Time for like 15 minutes, and then Terry fired me, and I thought Cynthia had a cool voice. She sung a Shaka song called Sleep on It, and I used to love the way she sung it. And I love the group Flight Time because they were probably one of the best R&B commercial bands around. Where everybody else kind of wanted to do more, the Parliament funk, the Jimi Hendrix type stuff. They wanted to do that. And Terry Lewis's band, Flight Time, was a great band because they had some of the best originals, man. Terry's a great writer, man. And we were doing like Mother's Finest, we were just doing a different type of vibe, but it was really, really a good band, great band. But singers, I didn't really find anybody there that I could say, yeah, you know, in Minneapolis.
Uh-huh.
I
So,
was, yeah, go on.
so that was like around 79, maybe, when you went
Yeah,
off on your own. And did you get a deal in 79, or was it 80, or?
I think, well, it might have been 78, 79. I got the deal in 80, I think. 79, late 79, 80. It was not that far from me when I left Prince because, I played in this one hole in the wall chitlin gig that I used to do. It was a club over north called Cato's Lounge. And they had no lighting in there, Scott. It was just like the singer, and I was still hanging out too again with the Gong Show band, you know. And I used to do the gigs in there, and it was a real down home black club. Like I'd never seen any white people in the club. You know, it was kind of like some Masons owned it, and it was a different kind of energy of a club. So all of a sudden I see the owner come to me and say, yeah, there's some white boys out here want to see you. I was like, white boys? Who want to see me? I says, well, can they come in? No, they can't come in here. I was like, well, okay. So I went to the door, and I was like, Owen Husney, what are you doing down in this area at this club? And they didn't care. They paid the guy to come in, like paid him extra money to come in. And so the Owen Husney and Cliff Siegel and Alan Dorfman, they came in the club and watched me. And then on my break, they said, we'd like to talk to you. And I was like, oh, okay. So they said, we have a record deal for you. And I just kind of looked at him, Scott, like, you have to be joking. Me, a record deal? How do I have a record deal? Well, we think you're just such an incredible singer and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I'm not working with Prince anymore. And we'd like to manage you, get you signed. So I went in and did new demos with a gentleman called named James Walsh, who produced the next set of demos, and I got the deal with Warner Brothers. It was pretty fast and quick and easy, you know.
Wow, how excited were you?
Oh man, you thought I arrived at that studio. I was like over the top. I was just thinking about all the money I was going to get in this advance, and that I was going to live in a mansion and everything else, you know.
What about your family? Were they surprised?
They were shocked. They were like just over the moon, and just all of a sudden wanted to manage me. They were all like, okay, fine, okay, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to ask for this kind of money and this and that. I was like, hey, I don't even know. You know.
Cart before the horse, yeah.
Yeah. Go to the meeting with me and see what they're talking about.
So those producers had worked with Donna Summer and Silver Convention that they connected you with, right?
Well, actually, you know what? I had a choice. And I wish I would have made another decision, Scott. That's probably would be the only thing that I feel like I would like to do over again, because I had a choice between like Skip Scarborough, George Duke, Maurice White, and Pete Bellotti. Giorgio Moroder's counterpartners in music thing. And, you know, Owen and them were like, well, you know, we're going to make you the Black Blondie, and we're going to, you know, you're going to be like, you're going to be so cool, you're going to do rock. And, I was like, yeah, that sounds good. So, you know, I kind of visualized and seen myself, this rocker up there. And then I was like, okay. So I said, I'll pick Pete Bellotti. But I had already been so familiar with Earth, Wind, and Fire and and Duke. But I was like, okay, that's all right. I'll just go with Pete Bellotti. So.
Huh. Wow. And did you get any feedback? Was Prince surprised or excited, or did he know you got your own deal? Or
He was angry. He was pissed, livid, and I had went to First Avenue that night. Then after the record came out, and he walks up from way across the club, and I think I was with my brother. Somebody said, "Oh yeah, Prince is coming over here." He said, "Well, let him come then." I don't know if you know my brother T.C. Ellis, who
he had an album out. Yeah.
Yeah. He said, "Well, let him come in." This is before he had the deal. He says, "I want to kick his little ass anyway." And I was like, "You want to kick Prince's ass?" So Prince walked over there just strutting and bold and said, "I don't like your album. The only song I like is Company. But the rest of the album is bad." And he walked away. And I just was like, okay, whatever. My feelings were hurt. And it wasn't until probably the Dirty Mind album when he called me and wanted me to open up for him at the Met. And the Met, I don't know if you know what the Met is, but it's kind of like the what's the arena in LA?
Staples Center?
Yeah, kind of like that. It was the Met Center. And he called me personally. "You want to open up for me at the Met?" And I was like, "Yeah." He says, "Get your band together. Here's my manager. He'll be calling you." It's like, okay. So I had a great band. But prior before that, even before I got the deal, I was in a group. I was in this group, Enterprise. Morris was the drummer, and Alexander O'Neill was my counterpartner singing, and then it was a great band. And then later on, we incorporated Jesse, and this is before the time or any of that. But we opened up for, it wasn't them in the band, but Enterprise would switch musicians all the time. Everybody came through this band, Enterprise, because we were a great band, and we were always the ones kind of like opening up for everybody. You had to come through us to get, any kind of promote publicity. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So did a good show. But I did have Tamara in the scene. Margaret Cox was the background singer for me before she even, she was just, we would just hang out, and I would come down to the club and just hang out and sing with her band, that she was in, sit in. But the band was killing, great band. So we opened up for him.
Wow. What did you make of Prince back then, though? Did you think he was sort of like eccentric or on a bit of a control thing, or did you realize how gifted he was musically at the same time back then?
I knew that he was very gifted because I seen it really firsthand, and I've never seen that. As far as the way he dressed, I got it, because he would tell me things like, "You need to go look at some old videos," and he made this quote. He said, "Sueann, whatever you do," he said, "go the other way. You might not be a star, but you'll be recognized quicker." And I got that. And so I kind of started on stage kind of dressing provocative and doing that kind of thing. And he would come down and hang out and see me, but would never he would come and sit in the band a couple times, and there was some conversation flying around that I had heard him tell, like Jill Jones, hey, man, I want you to look like how Sueann is dressed. And then Jill finally told me like a year ago, yeah, Prince used to want us. Prince was kind of scared of you, because I was kind of wild and kind of had a swag thing, And she told me, she said, Prince, I wanted, he wanted us to dress like you and look and have your kind of, And I was like, okay, whatever that means, but okay. But yeah, I knew I liked his vibe. I got it. I really got it, because he really was focused. He was focused on being a big, huge star. This was later on, after I started with the Dirty Mind, and I would see him play, and he would call me up on stage, at First Avenue to sing and do that kind of sort of thing. And so I got it, and probably too because I went to Los Angeles at an early time, and so I was able to really see what he was doing, whereas a lot of the musicians from Minneapolis never even been off their block until later on. So I understood it. I was going to all of the clubs there, El Probados and Carlos and Charlie's and Roy's Restaurant and, and Osco's and,
Oscars, yeah.
Yeah, Osco's and the Red Onion and, and I was going to concerts out there. And so, I was able to see like Fleetwood Mac and all of them when I got signed, and Ricky Lee Jones. And so I got it. I understood exactly what he was doing, and I was all with it, But a lot of people were like, you think, is he gay? I was like, no, he's not gay. Nah. He's just going to become one of the biggest rock stars in the world, I'm telling you. Just because of how he just he was going the other way. He didn't care. He was competitive, focused, and just like, So, yeah, I knew.
Yeah, I was at his first West Coast show at the Roxy on Sunset in 1978.
Ew, my sister was with him in the car, in the limo. I heard about it. Yeah.
Wow.
No. Flippers, I think. Wasn't Flippers?
Flippers was after the Roxy.
Right.
Yeah, Flippers was like 1980, I think. And Roxy was 79. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then I saw him get booed off the stage at the Rolling Stones, and I saw him at the Santa Monica Civic after that one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, how my sister was with him when he was booed off the stage. She was there, and she told me how he got in the car and he kicked the whole doggone cassette thing in the limo. He kicked it in, and he was pissed, and he just wanted to go home. And she was trying to tell him, no, man, don't, and he was looking at her like, man, if you don't shut up, I'll be throwing you out. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really angry when that happened myself. But it was really cool to see him come back very triumphantly just less than a year later at the Santa Monica Civic doing his own Controversy Tour thing and just killing it. And then it just blew up from there. So
Right. Yeah.
So back to that first album of yours, though. That single, Let You Rock Me, that was a damn good single, I thought.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it should have been a bigger hit. The producers aside, how did you feel about the experience of doing that first album and how it came out and that experience?
I was not happy because I had no kind of artistic, creative input in it. I was new. However, it wasn't my kind of music. There was no, Let Me Let You Rock Me was like the very last, like to the It was to the midnight hour of being mastered. And because Russ Thyrett came down, heard the record, and said, but there's no hit on this record. And so they started listening to Don't Stop the Music by Yarborough and People. And that's where they got Let Me Let You Rock Me from. Mm. Andre came down to the studio. We were recording the album at Rusk Sound on Sunset, and Andre he was hanging with me at the studio, and they wouldn't I wanted him involved. I wanted him to play the bass. They wouldn't let him, and I just was like, I was done with the record deal before I just left. I was done with it because I just didn't like it. I didn't like it just wasn't I was already like now listening to Bootsy and Funkadelic, and I was already, like analyzing and dissecting down Knee Deep and all of that, and I was already like in tune with Earth, Wind and Fire, the double album and the Devotion album, and I was already in tune with Shaka, and I told them that I wanted a combination of that kind of thing, and didn't happen. When I came in to record, the Water Sisters was there. And they must have knocked them songs out in 2 hours. That was the only thing impressive for me was, wow, these girls are like amazing. I mean, this family, the two girls, I think, in Orange, Waters. And, but no, I didn't care for the record.
So you came out of it disillusioned, sounds like.
Pretty much. Yeah.
That, I thought definitely that was the best chance at a hit, though, that song.
Yeah.
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 And then I saw a clip of you on some show in 1980, I think that year.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was a kick to see you in that attire and that whole, image.
Well, I mean, that was that whole Minneapolis thing, and then this chick who had a store downtown in Minneapolis named Sonia Kashik used to have all these punk rock clothes and stuff in her store, and Prince used to go down there and buy his stuff. So I was like, okay, well, hook me up, Sonia. She did all my hair and makeup and all that kind of stuff, and she ended up becoming very successful in a makeup line. She has like her stuff in Sephora, and so yes, but Sonia was fantastic. She had some great clothes, punk clothes and stuff like that. So yeah.
But it's kind of like it's when sort of like disco and punk came together as a look.
Pretty much, yeah. When you're 17, 18, and I kind of followed in the footsteps of him and how I think I would kind of pattern myself kind of trying to after him, but he didn't really know that I was, but I guess he maybe did know how, and I'm from Minneapolis, so it's like, hey, I can get away with it. I got a record deal, I can, do all this stuff. So yeah, that was quite an attire.
So what year about did you move to LA?
I moved to LA kind of soon after that record. I had got stung by LA and the whole scene, and I found myself feeling kind of almost, just not appreciated in your town. It's kind of, what I mean? It's like, I kept noticing now bands were forming there, and everybody was migrating there from these different towns trying to do the Prince thing, and so I decided that I was going to pick up and leave, and I just left. And then,
Did you drive out or did you fly out?
oh, I flew. I had a cool boyfriend back then. That had a lot of money and wanted to get into the music business. So he was like, "No, you're first class. I'll fly you." So, yes.
So at that same time in the early 80s, I mean, the time was taking off under Prince's wing, and Prince was really starting to ramp up, and Vanity 6 came out as a protégé act, and all the Minneapolis sound was taking the airwaves by storm. What kind of connection relationship did you feel to that at the time? And were you surprised at all that it was blowing up like that?
No, because I kind of seen it. I was dealing with Morris Day a lot, even all through the transition. So I knew what was going on. Personally, I felt kind of left out from all of them because, even though I was the first female to come out with a record, you just kind of think that, hey, I know all these cats, maybe they'll, I didn't have a record deal then. I was just kind of on my own, kind of, connecting with people and entertainers and going to the clubs and promoting, and getting to know people and just going through life on like terms type stuff. Trying to figure out, how can I get another deal? How can I, I had kind of just left everything back behind me and just didn't look back. And so when the time and Jesse and all this started taking off, every time Prince or something would come on the radio in LA, I just turned it off. I didn't even want to hear turn it off. I don't want to hear that, And yeah, I knew though. I already knew, I already knew everything what was going on, but I just didn't hear it. I didn't hear those words like, "Hey, I know what you're going through, Sueann. You are a girl. Let us produce you. Let's help you to get." They didn't do that, And I get it. They're excited. They're getting this fame now, and they're in LA, and they're doing their thing, and they're on tour and everything else. I just kind of, I guess, had expectations back then of, hey, your girl don't have the deal no more. Can y'all help? Can you help your girl? So, but it didn't happen.
Well, when were you with? Okay, you just did the one for Warner's. Then you went to MCA. Yeah. But I mean, that situation was volatile also. The Time guys splintered out, and Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis went off on their own, and Vanity was a one-off record.
Right.
So it was not stable anyway.
Yeah, I started to see that. I was with Morris the whole time of the Purple Rain movie came out. He hated it. He didn't want to see it. We was hanging together pretty tough, and he was very, very, very upset, and just was definitely dealing with a lot. And so, it was just time to numb out and just go through it and, go through what he was going through. And I was still kind of in limbo, and I kind of just at one point just started disconnecting myself from everything because I had to, I just had to change the direction on what I was doing and get focused on getting another record deal. And so my brother came into the picture because my brother, Carl Carwell, was with George Duke. And so he was working on a lot of George Duke stuff. And then he was working with everybody, Nita Baker and he ended up being the singer on one of the tours for the YMCA group. YMCA.
Village People.
Yeah, then he became the lead singer for a record for Heat Wave, and then he was in Earth, Wind and Fire. He went on tour with them. He introduced me. I said, I need to do a demo. I need a deal. I don't have no money. I don't have nothing. They left me high and dry. So I said, I need some help. And he was already kind of connected in LA. And he introduced me to an amazing producer who was my very best friend. He ended up passing away. It was Robert Brookins. And I don't know if you ever heard of Robert Brookins, but...
Yeah, as a producer... mostly, yeah.
We ended up like kind of trudging together on getting a deal together, so he did a demo on me. I think I did the demo for A&M. I was doing the demo actually for the A&M with, what's that guy's name? He was like I think he's like a part of Michael Jackson's estate, but he was, John McClain, that's who it was. John McClain from A&M Records was interested in me, so I did this really great demo. And a gentleman, A&R guy, came down, really looking at Robert to sign him from MCA, named Lil Silas, and heard me in the studio and was like, "Who is she?" He said, "That's Sueann. Sueann from Minnesota, Minneapolis?" He said, "Yeah." He says, "I want to sign her immediately. I've been looking for her." So, boom, there it was. I ended up getting signed to MCA. But before I got signed, Scott, I was approached by a manager, another manager. The friend of mine was my boyfriend who got me the deal. We were kind of in limbo waiting for the contract. And I think I got mad at the boyfriend, and I met this other manager and producer. He wrote Monster Mash. I don't know if you remember that, the television show. He wrote that song, and I signed a contract with him. Within 24 hours, I go to a restaurant. I make up with the boyfriend. We go to a restaurant and he pulls out the contract from MCA, and I went, "Uh-oh, I got to tell you something." He said, "What? Aren't you happy?" I said, "Yeah, but I got to tell you something." I said, "I signed a contract with this guy. I don't want to mention his name, but I signed a contract with this manager-producer." He said, "Who?" I told him who it was. He said, "Oh, get him on. We got to get him on the phone." They had a conversation. Next thing I know, the guy puts out this big letter to every record company saying he manages Sueann Carwell. Don't sign her because you have to call me first. And so my boyfriend / manager ended up having to pay the guy off within 24 hours. For nothing. We didn't even get a weekend, me and this manager, to even get anything done.
Wow. And this was like 86 or 87 or what?
Like 85, 86, 85, 86. Yeah. You're good. You're good with, how are you knowing all this timeline? Say, I've been doing this a long time. I know. I'm kind of jumping around, Scott.
That's cool. I'm going to keep it on track so we got the chronology as good as we can.
Awesome. Yeah.
So had you started doing any session work by that point? Because I know you've done a lot of session stuff.
Yeah. Not really. I did that. My brother was doing the daytime record and asked me, "Do you want to sing?" you want to do a session? And I said, I don't know how to do a session. He said, it's the same thing you're kind of doing when you're doing your record. You just singing backgrounds with somebody else. And I was like, okay. So I went in with him to do, that was really like my really first big, session where, here's Skip Scarborough in here. Here's, what's the guy? Say You Love Me. What's his name? He passed away too. Anyway, great singer. I think Charlie Wilson kind of patterns himself after this dude. With all due respect, Charlie Wilson, because I love Charlie. But that was a session I did, the daytime session, and I was just blown away that I did a session like that with all these big stars in here, and but yeah, I haven't really wasn't heavy in it yet.
Well, but the first time you recorded really was back with the Brecker brothers, right? And your brother?
Well, the first time I really that I really recorded was, me and Prince and the Sound 80. But when I mean like really on a session level,
yeah,
that was the session the first time for me.
Uh-huh. There's much more to this great Truth and Rhythm interview. Just continue on to the next part of the episode. Also, be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. And become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon or consider donating at funkinstuff.net. Thank you very much.